Welcome, Leapers. This is Chris, and I am thrilled to welcome our special guest, Jon Chaffin. Jon, thank you so much for agreeing to be on the Quantum Leap podcast.
Thank you for having me. This is fun. I'm looking forward to it.
I mean, I've been doing a lot of reading up. We have so many new things now that the new series is out, a whole bunch of new guest stars, a whole bunch of everything. And it's so great to be reading up on people who are now, new Quantum Leap stars. I have looked and I've seen, like, you have done everything in your background. You've been both behind the camera, on camera, and now you're guest starring on the new Quantum Leap. Can you tell us a little bit just about yourself and how you got here?
Yeah, so originally I'm from Stone Mountain, Georgia. East side of Atlanta, and I started my career actually behind the scenes, like you were saying. Started in production as a production assistant, camera coordinator. I mean, camera assistant, and eventually camera op. And I was like, man, I always wanted to act, but I never really knew how to go about doing it. Nobody in my family was an actor, so. That was my foray into the business. I kind of worked, and I have a godmother who was in the business, and she kind of helped get me in on the production side. And then when I got a chance to see how things work, how people move on set, then I was like, you know what, I want to go for it. You know what I'm saying? I want to do it. So, but I never lost my love for production. I still, love to get behind the camera when I can. I still write. I'm dabbling in some directing now with theater. So I started my career in Atlanta and did some cool projects there, and I was like, you know what, I don't want to have that what if, what if I'd have went to LA, and what could have happened. So I took the lead. Me and my now wife, she was my girlfriend then. We moved in August of 2012. So we've been in LA for 10 years now. Doing well, you know what I'm saying? I've been blessed to work on some really, really cool projects and with some great actors and writers, producers, directors. So, and we're just building, we're just trying to continue to build off of the last, job or the last project, and I also do theater out here as well. I've done work over with CTG over at Kirk Douglas Theater and done some workshops, reading series and things like that. And so NNT Theater in Glendale. So yeah, I just been like all over the city, just like trying to get it going. Like so many other hopefuls who've came out here, and I've just been blessed to have some luck on my side along the way.
Well, how did you hear about the part on Quantum Leap, and tell us about the process of getting cast as Daryl?
Yeah, so it's like any other normal process. It came through my managers, the audition, and I read it, and I was like, this is this is nice. You know what I'm saying? This is a nice part, and I was like, okay. I didn't watch the original Quantum Leap because I'm 39, so when it came out in the late 80s, 90s, I wasn't into those type of shows at that period in my life. So I had to go back and watch it and get an idea of the show, and then I was like, well, this is a reboot, so it's not going to be that tone. It's probably going to be, they're going to bring it up to date, 2022. But yeah, I read the part, and I immediately connected with Daryl. He's a war veteran, Vietnam. Uh, he was a professional boxer whose career was taken away from him because he was drafted into Vietnam. And then he came back home and he's dealing with the effects of war, which PTSD is something that's very real. And, my only hope is that, any veterans or anybody that's dealing with PTSD after watching this episode, they see a little bit of themselves because it is dealing with those type of topics. And so those things I wanted to illuminate. And then so I did my thing and sent it off into the universe, and probably about a week later, my manager was like, "Yeah, you got the offer," and I was like, "Oh." And then when I got the script, I realized I was like, "Oh, this this is a bigger role than what I thought." I thought it was going to be a couple, but the whole episode is about. I was like, "Oh, okay, that's going to be fun." And then I got to see what else they had me do, and I was like, "Okay, we got some work. We're gonna have to really go there." but it was a lot of fun. And hats off to Andrew Lindo who wrote the episode. Amazing, amazing guy, amazing writer, and he's a Kozak on the show. And Marcus Stokes, who directed that episode, was just phenomenal. Everybody, cast, crew, it was really good, and it felt like a safe place to play. So that's what I'm really grateful for. And hopefully it'll come off on screen. You'll see the fun that we had.
Well, one thing that does come off is that because since the new show is really very new, you're only in episode 3, but a lot of the themes that they touch on in this episode, number one, the boxing. I don't know if you know this because you're kind of new to the show, but the third episode of the original series was a boxing episode. And you're in the third episode of the new series, which is a boxing episode. A lot of the original series hinged around the theme of Vietnam and the lingering effects of Vietnam. And also, this is maybe, so far in the new series, the most distinctive historical era that we've seen, because the first episode was in mid-'80s, but it could have been anywhere. Second episode was in space. So right now we're actually getting maybe our first period piece of the new series. So, I mean, look, historical settings, the most distinct I can think of, Vegas, baby.
Vegas, baby.
The 70s. I mean,
right. That's like, who doesn't want to go to Vegas? I was going to say, who doesn't want to go to Vegas, especially in the 70s? I was like, oh my gosh. So when we got a chance to step into that time period, it was like, oh man, this is like why I became an actor. Getting to play in these different worlds and these decades. I wasn't born in the 70s, so I never. But I got my parents, and I saw the pictures and hear their stories, and I was like, man, that would be cool. So it was a lot of fun to step back in time, and I think the episode is really going to resonate with people because it's like you said, this is the first episode in the new iteration where we really get a sense of the era that we're in, and it's going to be the clothes, the look, the style of the show, the everything is just going to feel like 1977's Las Vegas.
When you were, getting onto the set and sort of like getting into the groove of the production, I mean, what was it like? What kinds of things did they have you like watch for? Did you have like certain idioms that you had to avoid, or certain? I know you have a script, but it's just, to me, it seems like more of a distinct challenge to go back and actually be authentic in a specific period of time, especially when you're not from that period of time. So, I mean, you had some fabulous outfits. But what else was it like to sort of immerse yourself in the set and to sort of transport yourself back into that mindset of the 70s?
Well, the internet is both the greatest invention and the worst. It's that double-edged sword. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's the great, but it can be terrible. But thankfully, because of the internet, we have a bevy of research at our fingertips. So a lot of it is just researching the era, what I'm saying, the times. I had a little bit of time before we started shooting. And when I got the initial audition, I had already knew that he was a Vietnam veteran, because that was a part of the breakdown. So I had immediately went into research mode. So by the time I got to set, I had already had all of this information inside of me that I had already researched about the era. And thankfully, and like I said, the writing was great, so it wasn't a issue with little idioms or sayings that more modern than it was. So it felt like it was very natural. And I have an old soul. You know what I'm saying? My parents, they was, everything growing up was, vinyl and my dad still probably has his 8-track player. If I swear for everything. So I grew up in, that era of music, what I'm saying? The OJs and the Jacksons and, the Shy Lights and, the Whispers and, so all that music was already in me. So I was ready to jump in the 70s because that has to be like the funnest era. And if there is one that I say I wish I could have lived in, it was that. It was the 70s.
So that must have been kind of a little thrill to go back.
Oh yeah,
To get to relive your fantasy, right?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can, put on the shoes of someone else and walk in them and see the world and the way that they see the world, it's always a fun adventure because you never know what's going to happen, and that's a part of the thing. It's all about the journey and not the destination. So, and then I got to shoot on Universal. I was looking at the big clock tower from, Back to the Future, and I was like, oh man, that took me back to my childhood. So, you bring all of that energy and all of those memories with you to each and every, opportunity role that you play. So, and it just so happened that this, one fit like a glove.
Yeah, that's terrific. It's funny. I think you evoke. We're all time travel geeks here on this podcast, so we talk about Back to the Future quite a bit. So we're a little jealous that you got to see the clock tower in Hill Valley.
Yeah. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. I remember being a kid, and like now I'm here working like right here in front of it. It's like, wow, it's mind blowing sometimes.
I bet. Well, I know that Quantum Leap's not the only thing that you've been doing that's very period specific. I see that you have a recurring role in the new Perry Mason remake that's on
Yeah,
HBO, and I believe that one's set in the 30s, right? And that's like a
yeah,
gritty drama. They really remade that. Tell us a little
yeah.
bit about that.
That was amazing. Like I said, I feel like one of the luckiest guys right now. I keep getting to jump back in time and relive these eras and tell the stories of these people in this specific time period. But it was amazing. I mean, being able to one be on that set, working with that caliber of just talent from top to bottom, um, was a blessing and a joy. I enjoyed every time I got to get up and play. And then the 30s, you know what I'm saying? Being able to go back in time and walk in those shoes and wear those outfits. And I was reading the paper, and a loaf of bread was 25 cents and gas was like a nickel and 70. I was like, oh my God, could we? I was like, what is going on? I wish we could get those prices back. But, so it was really, really a joy anytime you get to go back and play in those different eras, and that won't come out. I think Perry Mason. Don't even give me the line when the new season 2 is gonna come out. But yeah, I'll be in there, and I'll look a lot different than I look right
Mm.
now. So you might be like, "Is that John?" And you'll be like, "Yeah, that's me. That's me." Um, I don't want to give it away, but yeah, I'm gonna look a lot different than how I'm looking right now.
Now I'm really looking forward to it because I really liked the first season of that series. So
Yeah,
knowing that you're in it's going to give me something extra to look for. So yeah,
yeah.
that's terrific. And I see that another series that you're featured in just premiered in the last week or so. I think it was just this week on Stars. It was BMF.
Oh yeah, they're actually going into their second season. So I was in the first
Okay.
season. Yeah. That was another great
Oh,
one.
I see.
Playing the older Big Meech, Demetrius Flannery, who is real life person. His real life son, is actually playing him on the show. So that's really really a cool project, and I got to voice it. So I got to flex that voiceover muscle and get my James Earl Jones on, and I don't think I I got quite a while to go before I can get to that level. That's Mr. CNN and Darth Vader. I'm not comparing myself to James Earl Jones. Please do not. No. If I could have 1/8 of that, I would be immensely happy. But yeah, that was a lot of fun being able to work on that project.
Yeah, I mean that's becoming like I think sort of like a new coveted position in a lot of series because there's the voiceover. I think ever since the Wonder Years, the
Yeah.
voiceover has been sort of a tool that's been used very effectively. Everybody hates Chris, of course, Chris Rock. I mean, who wouldn't love that? But I think How I Met Your Mother. So it's kind of a unique role to fill. It must be neat to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's because the voice is another character. You know what I'm saying, in the show.
Mm.
Even though you're bringing the audience into the main person's head, their thoughts, there's still another character on the show. So it's always fun to be able to bring those to life. In either way, with my voice or face and whole body.
So, I mean, I think that working on Quantum Leap, if we can get back to Quantum,
Yeah.
maybe presents some unique challenges for actors because when you're, working very closely with Raymond, as you did in this episode, working very closely with Caitlin, even though you can't talk to her in this episode. I mean, Raymond is your brother,
Yeah.
but it's not like but he's Raymond as well. So what's it like on set to sort of to find that dynamic, to say this person is my family, yet it's an imposter? Is I know that's a weird question, but it's something I've always found fascinating about the process that you guys have to go through.
Yeah. I think I get what you're saying. It's not the imposter, but it's like the audience sees Raymond, but I see my brother. The cool thing about Raymond is me and him got to work together prior to this. We did a stage reading over at the Kirk Douglas Theater in Culver City back in like 2019, and he was really cool. We hit it off there. So when I got this, he was like, "Yo, oh my gosh, I can't believe you go to play Daryl." And I was like, "Yeah, we get to go on there and play." So we already had a chemistry, and we already had a rapport. So that part was like, it was easy. It was like slicing butter with a hot knife. Um, and then getting on the set and actually playing, it's just being honest. Really, it's seeing my brother, and no matter how he looks to the audience, I see my brother and I talk to him like he's my brother, and I treat him like he's my brother, and that's the honesty that'll come off, and then eventually you'll just see my brother. You won't. Yes, the audience knows that this has been song, but the relationship is a brotherhood. And I feel like this episode is going to be the launch pad for with that heartbeat, the pulse. This is a tug at your heartstrings type of episode, where we're dealing with some real issues, that societal issues, mental health, that not only in the 70s but in 2022, and we can compare to see how far we've actually come, because now we have hindsight, right? So you can see where in 1977 there was no help for people with PTSD. It wasn't even classified as a disease. So you can only imagine what it was like for somebody to be dealing with this and not actually be able to identify what it is. They just have these thoughts, these images, these feelings. So I'm grateful for Raymond for just really stepping in and just being like, giving me a hug and like, brother, because each episode, the guest star is essentially the lead, because Ben's song is leaping back into their life, and so he's the one that has to adjust to how everything is moving. So when he comes in the 70s, he's the one that has to adjust. So we don't adjust to him; he adjusts to us, and that's the beauty of. I know our episode and the following episodes to follow will also carry that on. And as far as Caitlin, we got to talk during, cut. So that was, but it's fun because she's like right here, and I'm like ignoring her, and I'm like hearing her, but you got to, she's not there. It's a fun little trick that we use for the audience. But sometimes when you're acting when it's like cut, it's like, what's that? You got to turn and look to her for a second. And, she's giving me that look like. I was like, okay, cool. So it's fun. You got to use your imagination, That's what it's all about, imagination.
Yeah, I hear it. Yeah, I mean, well, I asked that question specifically, especially because Quantum Leap is unique in the sense that there's a character that only one person can hear, but I know as an actor, I've heard from many actors that acting is about reacting, and it's about, being present in the moment, yet now you have to ignore all of that, and you can't react to somebody else on set. So it just seems like a unique dynamic to have to pull off.
That's why acting is not just reacting, it's creating. That's what acting is, it's creating, because you respond to what's real for you. So if I've created this and I'm responding, if I've created who my brother is, then it doesn't matter that it's been song, because I'm reacting to the creation, who he is, who I've created him to be. So there's that both ends. So that's why you can do movies like Avatar, and these amazing live actions where they're acting in front of a green screen, and there's a big eagle that has to fly by, and you have to react to it. A Game of Thrones, when you watch the behind the scenes and how they're reacting to the dragons, it's all like it's a child's game. It's a child's game, and that's all we're doing. We're grown ups playing a child's game. I don't think I really ever wanted to grow up. That saying, "I'm a Toys R Us kid," that stuck with me. I never kind of like let it go out the other ear. It kind of got trapped somewhere up in here. So I'm gonna be.
You're doing something right because you get to be on Quantum Leap. So you got
Hey,
that, right?
right. I get to do something right.
So we can if we can get back a little bit to your prior relationship with Raymond. One thing that I've seen from I guess just basic social media and all the behind the scenes stuff on the set, it seems like this cast is having a ball. And Raymond is especially, hilarious on social media. I think the guy is he makes me laugh all the time. And do you have any like funny stories from set? Like just can you regale us with any tales from behind the scenes?
I mean, I was we have a fight. You all seen it, the fight scene where I jump out the car and I hit the guy, and I was like really in it in one take, and Raymond is supposed to his Ben is supposed to come from behind me and grab me. Well, Raymond is like 5'10". I might be, sorry Raymond if you're watching this, I may be embellishing, but I'm 6'1". So he's so he comes up to grab me, and I thought he was the other actor that's the stunt is he comes to grab me, and I swung around and I caught him in the chin and he went flying back, and everybody's like, oh, he's like, I'm okay. I'm okay, John did knock me out. And I was like, oh my God, they're gonna fire me. I killed the number one on the show. They're gonna fire me. And they're like, get out of here, guy. And Marcus was like, we need him for the rest of the episode. I was like, okay, let me turn it down. This isn't really a fight. This is just me acting like we're in a real fight. So, but that was theirs. He was like, "No, it's cool. You got, he got me. I got him on the chin, and thank God I didn't, knock him out. But I have pretty broad shoulders, and I came around and bam." But Raymond, he's great, man. I mean, honestly, I couldn't be happier for a person. I mean, if anyone deserves it, it's him because he's just a really, really great guy. You know what I'm saying? You don't meet too many genuinely great people. Um, in general. I mean, not just in Hollywood, but in general. It's they're far and few between. And so it's really good to see one of the good guys winning. You know. So yeah, I'm really happy for him. And the set, and it's like a family. Um, and I think Deborah Pratt she was a part of the first iteration, and so she's there producing, and so she's on set, and so there's that authenticity that they're wanting to uphold, with Quantum Leap, because the fan base is, y'all rabbit, y'all are like, is this really what happened? No, no. So we have to be patient. It's a reboot, you know.
One of the unique things about the reboot is that we sort of have dual storylines going on. So we're getting used to the fact that in this iteration, there's going to be a leap plot, and there's going to be back at the project plot. And necessarily the leap plot and the project plot, they don't really intersect that much because they can't. Were you able to get to know or experience any time with the other actors in the series in your time on set?
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't. Because the way the shoot was set up, this episode shoots in 8 days, um, and I'm shooting like 7 of them. So, but they get all of their other stuff in because I know with our episode at least, because we're going back into the 70s and everything has to look like it because we're really seeing the 70s. Um, I think all of the stuff with the that's going back at the base with them, with the team, they shot that, and then it was all us. So there were days that they were on set where I was on set, but we didn't really work together because their call time is a little bit earlier than mine, or they're filming, and then once they wrap, then we can move over to start doing our stuff. So and that's normal. Um, Usually, for a guest star, you're pretty much going to be your interactions and work is going to be with the people that are in those scenes that you're in, unless fate has it, you can get into a scene that, Meryl Streep is shooting, next, and you can bump into her on set. Sometimes those beautiful accidents happen. But I would have loved to have met Ernie Hudson. He's a legend in my mind. He's been doing this since forever. Love Goosebumps and everything else. And I would have loved to meet the other actors on the show because they're doing such a wonderful job. Um, yeah, and from the stories that I've heard from the crew, everybody loves them. So everybody's just fantastic.
I think the reason why I ask that is because I feel like this is another thing that sort of links back to the old show, in that Ernie's character is a Vietnam vet who Sam once leapt into. You're the first Vietnam vet that we're seeing in the new iteration. It might have been nice to have, even though it's impossible in universe, to have some kind of connection between the two characters. So in my head canon, there's a connection there, even though it's not really possible in sort of the parameters of a leap.
Right, because they're just in two different eras. He's in 2022, I'm in 77. So, but it doesn't mean that he's not affected by that particular leap, especially,
Yeah.
because being a veteran and knowing that this leap he has to save this veteran, there's still a connection there, even though we're not physically together. It's like we're all connected, we're all energy, we're all spiritual beings having a human experience. So, where it affects one of us affects all of us. So that's why you can feel for your colleague in Florida and not even be there.
Yeah.
And,
We're thinking of you, Albie.
yeah, man, we're thinking of you.
But I think it's again something that is a unique opportunity in the new dynamic of the show to have a connective tissue like that between someone back at the project being affected by the fate of a leap B because of similar experiences. It's not something that we saw very much in the original show. It's a dynamic that the new show can explore because it's so different. Yet at the same time, and this is going to sound weird, the very difference is what enables it to make us think of the original Quantum Leap. It's sort of that making that human connection across time, and I think that this episode does a good job of that. So thank you for that, because it's something that we've been hoping for and waiting for since the reboot came. Just to get, we've gotten plenty of it, plenty of fan service, plenty of nods. They know we're watching and they give us little Easter eggs here and there. But this one feels a little bit more like wow, this is Quantum Leap. So I want to thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It was an honor to come into this universe, this Quantum Leap universe. I feel humbled to have been given the torch to carry, and I pass it on, and hopefully it'll continue burning. It was a lot of fun bringing this Daryl to life, and like I said, my only wish is that someone will see themselves in him and relate to his story. Because it's a lot of people's story, unfortunately.
Well, John, it's been a pleasure to talk with you. Thank you so much for being with us here on the Quantum Leap podcast.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.